The Baseball Together Network presents the Philly Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Jason and Tory. And now, Philly Baseball Together.
Welcome back, listeners, to this August edition of the Philly Baseball Together podcast. You are joined, as always, by myself, Jason, and I'm here with my good friend, Tory. How are you doing, Tory?
I am well. Thank you for asking. I would just enjoy saying it like that. I don't know why. But yeah, things have been pretty good. I went to the game a couple weeks ago. It was a game where they were giving out the 1980 replica ring, which ended up being it was really nice. It was a great giveaway. Yeah. How have you been doing recently?
Let's see. About 3 weeks ago, tomorrow we went to the Phillies. My wife and my oldest child. We went to see the Phillies. I'm a big proponent of the Hall of Fame Club. If anyone goes, I recommend those seats.
Yeah.
We got to see them play the Braves, where they put up that 5-run fifth inning, and it was fantastic.
Nice. That was I think they won 7-2 that game. That was just a good series in general because of how they looked. Yeah. And
that 5-run fifth inning was all small ball. It was awesome to see guys stealing bases and legging out runs. It was fantastic. For me, that's what I like about baseball.
That's an interesting question. I mean, I would say I like both. I do like to see, like the hit and run, the pickoff attempts and everything. Anything that could be the bloop singles. I just love that word, actually, by the way, bloop. But but I also love, like the mammoth, home run shots that Harper will hit into like the second deck or something like that.
Don't get me wrong. I don't dislike dingers. It's just small ball's becoming such a forgotten part of the game that I just love it even more when I see it because it's a different type of excitement.
Yeah, you're right. And when it kind of happens and when it all comes together, and then when you get runs from it also, I feel like it's definitely more enjoyable than just a home run where a double steal or something like that, a drag bunt, a drag bunt that works and then they get on first base. I do like to see that also. But I didn't know if you wanted to just jump right on into let's I guess talk about first the trade deadline. How about that? That's
funny because I have a story with this.
Okay, go ahead.
So that Tuesday, my dad and I, we went to Reading to see a Reading Phillies game. It was a morning game.
Yeah.
And it was not advertised.
Wait a minute. I have to stop you for a second. A morning game? They have morning games in AAA or AA?
Double A.
Rather.
That's a Reading Phillies hallmark. Is they do a few they don't do the super early game anymore. I don't think they do the 9 o'clock one, but they typically do a couple 10:30 or 11 o'clock games.
Really?
A season. Yeah.
Huh. I had no clue, but you know what? I've never been one for minor league baseball. Just because which is weird because we live so close to the Senators, where the Senators play and everything. But anyways, I'm sorry, I interrupted your story, so please continue. I just was
You're
curious
okay
about that.
So, conversely here, I'm the same distance to a Harrisburg Senators game as I am to a Reading Phillies game, so I can hit both in about an hour. But anyway, it was not advertised as Logan O'Hoppe Day, but he was the starting catcher. His mom threw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
He was certainly a piece of excitement for the team. He was probably the most talented player on the team at that point. And then about maybe an hour after we got home, he was traded to the Angels.
Man. And, and out of all the deals, that one could be the one that, might bite us in the butt, because he has looked good, but of course, as you know, he is blocked by Real Muto. But look at his numbers. He's batting .275, 20 home runs, OPS of 923 this year. So he's looked great. So it's definitely a concern, but I mean, you never really know because I thought when the Phillies traded Sixto Sanchez for Real Muto, that was going to be a big one that was going to come back and bite us. So far it hasn't, even though Sixto looked pretty good maybe like 3 years ago or whatever it was, maybe 2 years ago, actually, I guess, when the Marlins were in the playoffs. Yeah, that sounded weird to say, when the Marlins were in the playoffs. But anyway, so you just never know with prospects. You never know. What are your thoughts, though? I'm sorry.
No, with Logan, I agree with you. He's blocked at catcher because of JT. Stubbs is a fantastic backup.
He has been.
They have what Marchand in AAA.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, there's depth there at catcher where he wasn't going to be moving anywhere. Plus, I mean, let's be honest, we have Marsh for quite a number of years under
5 more years. Yeah.
So this is not. I don't think this is something that's going to bite us in the butt because to me, it was a really good trade for both teams. The Angels are getting a catcher that they're going to need in a year or two. And we got Marsh for 5 years, who's a really good defensive center fielder. This trade was equal. It fit both teams. It did not feel like either team truly got robbed of anything.
I like your assessment on that. And I do agree that, so I mean, since we have Marsh for the next 5 years, and he's been, and remember that he was the Angels' #1 prospect last year. And last year was, of course, his rookie year. And despite the fact that he looks like, Tom Hanks in that running scene from Forrest Gump, where he's like running across the country and everything. And then he's gathering like all the followers, and then he turns around and he's like, I think I'd like to go home now. He looks like, he looks like, he does look like that, but I kind of love like that look, like the Johnny Damon circa 2003 kind of look, where it's just kind of like rugged and everything. And he looks like he would be like a baseball player.
I said he looks like a mini Worth.
Yeah. I can see that. Or, maybe he's like, or maybe Worth is, Marsh Senior or something even.
Oh my!
Now, if we can, if we can, and if we can get one of the things that I worry about with Marsh is I haven't been crazy about his bat yet. Now, I mean, he's only batting like 230 or something, I think. So, I mean, of course, he's only 24, so there's still plenty of time for him to come around and be an impact hitter. One of the great shortstops in the game years ago, obviously Ozzie Smith, when he came up, he was known for his defense only and not much else. He turned into his
backflip.
Then the backflip, of course. He turned into like a solid hitter. I mean, he was batting 211. This is Ozzie Smith, 211, 222. But by the time, like later on, then he batted over 300 one year, 280, 285, 295, 288. I mean, so here's somebody that, maybe Marsh can emulate. Somebody who was a great defender who also kind of learned how to hit, over the course of his career as well. Now, of course, that's like who knows if something like that would really happen, but it could.
But we got to be realistic here. Bohm has thrived with Long as our hitting coach.
Yeah. Same thing with him in the field also. I mean, he's been I feel like he's been making some great plays, like that barehanded play against the Mets the other night, the one where the pitcher just missed it and he grabbed it and threw out the guy at first base. I mean, like, chef's kiss, man, chef's kiss.
You mean this team that had better fundamentals than the Mets?
Yeah, I despise Keith Hernandez. As all the Phillies fans have been saying. By the way, if you've been seeing that and you don't know what that's from, that's actually from it's an episode of Seinfeld from the 90s. Where
it's a great episode.
It is. It's a magnificent episode. Where Keith Hernandez was in 2 episodes, and Newman and Kramer both can't stand Keith Hernandez. And Newman just yells out like the one time, like, I despise Keith Hernandez. So that's been kind of like a rallying cry for the Phillies. ever since
Well, and
Hernandez
what's
came
funny
out.
is I believe in that episode weren't the Mets playing the Phillies?
They were. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Newman says, I think it was 87 or something, 1987. He says Mets Phillies. I think he says a crucial Keith Hernandez error opened the door to like a 5-run Phillies ninth inning. And then because Kramer is like, our day was ruined, But yes, you are correct that the Mets were playing the Phillies in that game. Good catch, actually. I forgot all about that.
Well, that's why I'm here.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, talk about crazy though. I mean, everybody thought at the beginning of the year that the Phillies defense was going to be suspect. And honestly, I mean, I feel like the Phillies have really risen to the occasion, in many regards this year. Not just in defense, but it seems like they've just been tough, mentally tough. Harper going down, and the team has still been playing well, even with Harper down. They were down against Alcantara the other day. I think I said that name right. If I didn't, I apologize. So obviously they were down against him late. They put together like a solid 8th inning, and the rest is history. So I really enjoy that about the team, that even if, Mr. Hernandez thinks that they're not quite there fundamentally, I mean, they've been doing what needs to be done to get the job done,
Agreed. And
Mhm.
it goes back to, I think this is like the 3rd time I've referenced it now. At the beginning of the season, they asked Charlie about the defense, and he said, when you win games, the defense gets better because you're not focusing on the mistakes of the defense. You're
Mhm.
focusing on the wins. And this team, as they've been winning, their defense has been getting better. And I'm aware you're not going to win every game. And those 2 games, those 2 losses to the Mets are heartbreakers, but I think
Yeah.
they're losses that you can build from. And if we got to lose 2 now, I'd rather lose 2 now than 2 later. And
Right.
we're facing them in the playoffs, and that's how we get knocked out of the playoffs.
Yep.
Let's circle back here to the trade deadline.
Okay.
Because we do what we always do. We kind of just roll with it.
Yeah.
How about Thor and Robertson? What are your thoughts on those?
So I was at the first game that Thor pitched, where it was against the Nationals, and that was the game where they gave away the 1980 replica ring and everything, which is amazing. So that game he looked a little shaky, but I'll attribute that to he had just gotten there the night before. He probably was a little tired and everything, maybe a little. And the crowd in Philadelphia is going to be different than the crowd in Anaheim.
Anaheim.
Yeah. And I'm sure that the Angels fans are passionate, but a lot of people have like some like shell shock when they come over to Philadelphia and they see like the media and everything, and the fans and the energy in the stadium. It was really funny though that night, because that night ended up being a rain out, but we got the win because we still won. We went 5 innings, and we were in the lead. So, because I think we won 5-4, but the Nationals were running all over Syndergaard. Like, it felt like every time he lifted up his leg, they were off to second base. And everything they hit had eyes. It went to the outfield. A little like CNI ground ball to third base was a hit. I mean, their batting average on balls in play felt like it was 800 that game. So he's to circle back to, I guess, what your original question was. I actually think he's looked good otherwise. If he's somebody that we can get 6-7 innings out of, like we did last night, we got 7 innings out of him last night, and then Robertson and Dominguez slammed the door. I mean, that's perfect. That's what you want out of a pitcher who's going to be your 3rd starter, or in this case, maybe even your 4th starter, because of how good Suarez has looked recently. I mean, Suarez outdueled Scherzer on Friday night also.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed Syndergaard, and again, he's only 29. He's not like he's like some 32-year-old, 33-year-old that's like, he's on like his last leg and he's like, well, I'm just here, to get to the playoffs one more time and see what I can do. That in my mind. That's what Thor sounds like, even though I don't think he really sounds like that.
No, he's very
Um,
soft spoken.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I gave him that voice, but anyway, uh, so if we can get 6-7 innings out of him, and if he gives us a chance to win every night, that's all we need.
I mean, he's in the Joe Blanton seat, really.
Yeah. You mean like the guy that we get to pick up at the trade deadline, who's kind of like like he'll be like a workhorse starter for you. Is that
Exactly.
kind of what you mean?
He's an innings eater. He might, cost some runs, but he's gonna be solid. I mean, I don't know if he's gonna be quite the folk hero that Blanton became, but
Well, he can't. He's not going to be able to hit a home run in the World Series, so
no, he won't.
Yeah. Thank you, National League DH. No, actually, I love the National League DH. I'll just say
I'm still torn on it. I mean, it's great for us because as soon as Bryce comes back, he still has the elbow issues, so he'll be DH almost every day.
It'll be interesting to see, when he goes back into the field next year, how he does. If he's going to have to shake off some rust, or what's going to happen. Because I think
he's such a gamer that I'm willing to bet off season he's going to work twice as hard because that's just who he is.
Yeah. And let's circle back a little bit to the trade deadline. I've really loved Robertson, and I'm so happy that he kind of like mentioned the elephant in the room when he got signed, and he said something to the effect of, now he has a chance to redeem himself, because remember that we signed him back in, what was it, 2019? It might have been 2018. I can't remember. It was
2018. No. I think it was 2019 in the off season.
Okay.
And he threw like one inning.
I think it was
yeah.
And he got $24 million for that. $24 million, which is, I mean, kind of amazing. I'll throw one inning and get $24 million. I mean, heck yeah, call me up. So I'm glad that he said something about that, where he was like, now I can come back, now I can try to contribute and actually, maybe make my money, with the Phillies. And there was obviously a lot of, probably a lot of happiness too, because since he was coming from the Cubs, who haven't been very good this year, over to the Phillies. And Syndergaard also said, I just saw this morning, he said something to the effect of, this is where he feels like he belongs also. So, which is always good news for a ball player to hear, because, a ball player to say, because you don't want them to feel like they're an outcast or that they don't belong. And by the way, right now, I feel like Castellanos feels like he's a little bit of I feel like he's not quite comfortable, and I feel like he hasn't been comfortable all year. And I have other words, but I don't want to I don't want to be too negative about him.
Be honest.
Well, when we were talking about the trade deadline, but just as a side note, I really have not been too impressed with Castellanos this year, and I'm hoping that he can turn it around, because this is somebody who got MVP votes last year. I mean, this is somebody who he bat like I think he was. Here, I'm just looking this up actually right now. Last year he batted .309, 34 home runs, 100 RBIs. The year before that, when he was with the Cubs, he was batting .321. The year before that, .289. 298, 285. So, I mean, this is somebody, he's been very consistent over the last couple of years. So it seems very odd that all of a sudden he would just come to Philadelphia and just fall off a cliff. Now, maybe what's happening here is what I like to call, he's got Jason Bayitis, which is, if you guys don't remember Jason Bay, he was somebody years ago. He played for the Pirates, and he was very good for the Pirates. He played for the Red Sox. He was very good with the Red Sox. Then he signed a 4-year deal with the Mets. I think it was in 2010. and he
Yep.
immediately like fell off a cliff. I mean, like he just like he was great with the Pirates, great with the Red Sox. So since he was great with the Red Sox, that he could handle the pressure of playing in New York. But yeah, he went to the Mets and just completely fell off. So I wonder if with Castellanos, it's going to be like this the same thing. If maybe he's just not comfortable, maybe he's injured. Because I think I did see something that and in the beginning of the year, he was batting over 300. He was being very consistent. And then I think I can't remember if he got hit by a pitch or if
And then
he
he moved into Ben
fouled.
Simmons' house.
Yes, I mean that can't be understated. Like that the Ben Simmons curse is alive and real, and that somebody needs to burn that to the ground. Please, whoever's listening, please do not burn Ben Simmons' house to the ground. It's just a joke. But it's funny that I felt the need to have to say that, but you never know. But anyway, I'm just hoping that he can turn it around, because a healthy Nick Castellanos would do wonders for our offense. And I think we saw this past weekend in the series against the Mets, just what happens when we don't have Schwarber in the lineup either. I think it feels like we can survive a lineup without Harper as long as we have Schwarber. But without Schwarber and Harper, what did we do? I think we got 2 runs in 4 games, which of
Yeah.
course is horrible, obviously, especially for a team that's going to live and die with the long ball. I've been rambling. Please
No,
go ahead.
you're fine. And that's one of the reasons earlier I mentioned about how I'll take 2 losses to the Mets now.
Yeah.
Because of what it might mean in the future, and it's something we can build on, because we didn't have Harper. We didn't have Schwarber. We weren't as a team at 100%. So what happens when we bring them back in and we face the Mets again in the future? Like, I'm thinking long term, yeah, I'll eat this one because I know what's coming up around the corner.
And I really hope that's true, because it's funny because like the Mets look very good, except for last night when they got beaten 13-1 by the Braves. Which I'm really surprised about, by the way, because the Braves actually looked like they were stumbling, and now it looks like they've kind of like they've decided that they're going to be the phoenix rising from the ashes. Whereas I'm still waiting for that from the Yankees. The Yankees look terrible now. I don't know what happened to them.
They traded Gallo. That's what happened.
I know it's now what the Dodgers are like well, they're the first team to 80 wins, and Gallo has been playing well for them. And yeah, the Yankees, who were on like a 125 win pace, something insane, now are like the last, I think it was July and August, now they're on a 68 win pace. Like if it was for the whole season, you know what I mean? Not like, they're already past 68 wins.
So here's something to throw out there, since you mentioned the win thing.
Mm-hmm.
Going into Friday's game, the Phils were on pace for a 90-win season. I think actually you sent that to me, didn't you?
I can't remember actually. I think I did see this though, where that they were on pace for like a 90-win season, whereas before they were on pace for like a 68-win season with Girardi as manager. Was that it?
I think that might have been it. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I did see that then also, and I had said, I think on our very first podcast this season, I said that I thought they were going to win 94 games. I said I thought that they were, and even if I was being incredibly optimistic at the time, I didn't know. Excuse me, I just hiccuped. I would love to see that, but heck, 90 wins is probably good enough for that second wild card spot. Which and heck, right now, I mean, I think we're half a game over the Padres.
We are a half game,
or should we call them should we call them the Padres now? PED Rays, Ped. Not getting it.
No, I laughed at it in our fantasy baseball chat, if you recall.
I did. Yeah.
No, I don't think, and maybe this is me being cocky, I don't think the Padres are a team to be feared.
Well, I mean, the Phillies played well against them last year. They've played well against them this year also. I think the Phillies have a better starting rotation. I mean, when you look at our top 4, actually, no. I'm sorry, not even our top 4. Our top 5, our starting rotation is. I almost wanted to say excellent, but I don't want to jinx it. But they've been so good. I mean, other than Wheeler yesterday, who kind of he didn't have his best game. But I mean, when you have Wheeler, when you have Nola, when you have Suarez, when you have Syndergaard, and when you have Gibson. By the way, I love the Gibson pickup from last year. By the way, he's been everything that you could ask a fifth starter to be, if not more.
And I remember last year, I was all about that trade last year.
I
Because
do
of how
remember
good
that.
he looked.
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was his first game he pitched against the Pirates. He pitched pretty well. And I mean, and this year, he's 7-5 with a 4.29 ERA. His WAR is at 1.7. I mean, that's a solid player, and he's 34, so he's obviously not super young. I say that as a 37-year-old.
We would both be retired by now.
Right. Yeah. So he is somebody he's looked good in the rotation also. But I feel like our starting 5 can go up against anybody else's starting 5 in the league. Honestly, I really do think so. Now here's the thing though, in the playoffs, it's more your starting 3 that matters.
Right.
And so let me ask you that then. Would in the playoffs then, if it is the starting 3, obviously we'd go with Wheeler, Nola. Would Suarez be your 3 or Syndergaard be your 3? Or Gibson?
I think if I'm Rob Thompson, I'm making an educated guess. Because I think you could plug either of those 3 into that third slot. I mean, going back to my original question to you, was with the Padres, you can have all the names you want. If they can't play and function as a team,
yeah,
it doesn't matter who the names are. Last year they had locker room issues, and I know that our friend Brad, the head honcho here at Baseball Together, or one of the head honchos, he believes they have Bob Melvin, and he's the guru who's gonna get this team in line. Tatis is out for 80 games now. Soto is not a one-man team. Machado is doing everything he can to keep that team afloat. But then they lost an entire series after they got these big trades and got these guys in.
Mm-hmm.
I think until that team can gel, I can't buy them as a threat. I think they can go into the wild card, but I don't think they're world beaters.
And Soto has really turned it on since he's gone to the Padres. And Machado, of course, is always good. And then Josh Bell, of course, always a threat. So I mean, I would be, I should say I would be afraid of them. I wouldn't, but I think they're a team that we can beat. Especially if they don't have Tatis also, because, with that Tatis, then the lineup is a little bit more balanced because they have Machado and Tatis as right-handed hitters, Soto and Bell as left-handed hitters. And then you have, Cronenworth also, I think he's pretty good too. Blake Snell, of course, obviously on the mound. Now, if the season ended today, though, I think we would play them in the playoffs. Is that correct?
I think we would, yes.
Okay.
And now, comparatively, in their last 10 games, they only went 4. They have a 4-6 record in their last 10 games.
Okay.
Whereas we have a 7-3 record in our last 10 games. That's why I'm looking at them and I'm like, I don't see it yet. I don't see what the baseball media thinks is so great about them.
And let's talk about the baseball media for a second, because what's really irked me, and what I think is irked you also, is just the lack of respect that the baseball media has been giving the Phillies. Because every time every power ranking that I look, it always has the Phillies that ranked 13th or or I think I did see one of them where they were at 7th. I think
The Athletic has them at 7th.
Okay. I was just going to remember, I saw somebody who had them at 7, and I was ecstatic that somebody had them that high. But I did see somebody answered on Reddit, And when somebody had mentioned about the power rankings and how the Phillies aren't really showing up on any of them, somebody on Reddit said, "Well, I prefer the real power rankings, the standings." And
That's true.
yeah, and I thought about that too, and I was like, that's a good point. I mean, and when you look at, I mean, yes, we are in third place right now. We're obviously chasing. I hate to say we're not going to when we are not going to we're not going to pass the Mets. I don't think we are. There's an outside chance that maybe we can catch the Braves, but I think right now we just have to worry about it. It's kind of weird to say, but we have to worry about winning the NL Central. Yes, you heard me correctly. Um, you know that we need to just stay ahead of the Cardinals and the Brewers, because uh they are as long I feel like as long as we stay ahead of them, we will be all right. I think we'll make the playoffs then. But
I think we're getting in as that second wild card. I would be highly surprised if we get the first wild card slot. But I think we got the plus. Let's look at our division is the three teams: the Phils, the Braves, and the Mets. That's a top heavy three teams in that division.
Yeah,
it's not the tightest division. It's not like the AL East right now, but you have three really great teams in that division. And the Mets just happen to have got off to a really great start this season, and they've never really had to look back. So it's been us and the Braves playing catch up the rest of the season, especially us because we had such a horrible losing streak under Girardi.
Yeah. And can I say something really quick? Just as
Absolutely.
as a Phillies fan, I want to hate DeGrom. I really do want to hate DeGrom, and I do hate Scherzer. I do not like him at all. I cannot hate DeGrom. He is just so good, and I mean, he's just so fun. I mean, he's throwing, what is he? I think he's 34 or something. He's still throwing like 101 or something up there. And I mean, I just can't hate the guy. I mean, he's just such a good pitcher that, I find myself being like, yes, I wish you the best, just as long as it's not against the Phillies, But yeah, I mean, he's good, and even as a Phillies fan, I have to tip my hat to him.
No, I can't disagree with you. I mean, and here's the thing: there's players that weren't on the Phillies that I enjoyed watching. And I think every fan has some players that aren't on their team that they still like watching.
And we might have talked about this on the podcast before, but who is your favorite non-Phillies player ever? I'd say that.
Oh, ever? Well, it would have been McCutchen, but then he became a Philly. So I'm gonna go way back on this one. I was a catcher as a young man. I always liked Mike Piazza. Plus, Piazza's a PA guy too. So,
I'm having a little bit of and maybe I'm having a little bit of deja vu. So I feel like we've had this conversation on this podcast
we have
before. Okay. So wait. Do you remember who I said was my favorite non-Phillies player?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyways, that's all right. For me, it was always Nomar. I loved Nomar. Garcia Parra, for if you guys don't remember from the 90s.
Nomar.
I mean, Nomar. Yeah, because it's funny, his dad's name was Ramon, so his nickname was Nomar because his real name was Anthony. Anthony Garcia Parra really was his name, but people called him Nomar because they said that he was the opposite of his father, who was Ramon. Anyway, now that I went completely off, on a tangent there, yes, but
yeah, we probably got to wrap this up here shortly.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I did want one more thing then, just so we don't go too far off on the whole Phillies news. I did want to talk really, really, really quick about how good Sir Anthony has been. It's been, and I had said, I'm pretty sure I said in our very first podcast this season that Sir Anthony was one of the biggest things that we needed. That we needed somebody to really anchor the the bullpen, and he has been it this year. And another thing I wanted to mention also, Stott has been batting about 300 since the All-Star break, and he is somebody that it's been weird. Like, but I feel like since he's been given regular at bats, I think he's really flourished, and it's funny because now I can say that his batting average is all the way up to 225. It doesn't sound that big, but I think he was under the Mendoza line for a while this season. So
I believe he was, yes.
And his
I think
WAR is...
we had this conversation on the show.
Really?
I remember you saying the Mendoza line a few times.
Okay. I thought you were saying that we had talked about how his average was above 300. I was like, but we haven't talked since the All-Star break.
No. I meant talking about his batting average in general.
Okay. And I have a lot of hope then for him. He's somebody, we drafted him 14th overall in 2019, and he's already up in the big leagues. So he's obviously somebody that the Phillies have a lot of respect for, and I think they're expecting him to be the shortstop or second baseman of the future. By the way, another real quick thing also is that the two of the big Phillies pitchers just got called up to Double-A, Andrew Painter and Mick Abel. I think I said that correctly. Is that right? Okay. Painter has looked absolutely unhittable in Single A. I think his ERA was like 0.98, something insane like that. So we'll see obviously how he does in Double-A, but he's looking like he could contribute maybe next year or the year after that. And he's young. He's only 19. So this is he is definitely somebody to look out for. He's definitely somebody that we need to look at into the future. And who knows? Maybe he could be in the rotation very soon.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually thinking that myself when I saw the news yesterday. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. All right.
Well, I guess with that, let's wrap up this month's episode of the show. As always, you can find me every other week on the None Other Sports podcast, where myself and my best friend David cover general sports talk geared towards old fans. We're going to be recording this Friday. I don't quite know the topics yet, but if you want, go back and listen to our second anniversary show. It was David and myself, Brad and Brig from Baseball Together, and John the Bobble Bro talking strictly sports movies, and we never got on the rails. It was off the rails for 2 hours and 15 minutes. So you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Tory, what do you have to plug?
Well, you can support the Philly Baseball Together podcast and the Base Podcast Network by picking up a shirt, cap, hoodie, or more at 9plusus.com. When you go there, listeners of Philly Baseball Together pod can take 15% off of their order using code 5pod at checkout. And again, also, as always, I do have a YouTube channel. I am my nickname is the Bearded Bald Baritone. I haven't added anything new for a while now. I think I need to do that because, I need to get back into the swing of things of recording some songs. They're all covers and everything, but it's all just fun. By the way, you had mentioned, just real quick, you had mentioned, on your other podcast that you talked to them and you talked to the gentleman on your other podcast, and you have nicknames for them all. I feel like we need to give ourselves nicknames for our next podcast. We need to work on that.
Who has a nickname?
I thought. Well, didn't you say Brig was one?
Well, that's his name.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, his name's silly. Brigham.
Oh, well, okay, Brigham. Well, all right. In other ways, then now I just feel silly.
It's all right. You're good.
For some reason, I always thought that was his nickname. I don't know why, but anyway. But yes, you know what? I think we do need to work on nicknames. This Jason and Tory thing, it's good, but I feel like I can call you like Mac or something like that. Yeah. We'll work on that for.
I guess we'll have to have a catch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like, can you run real fast? Or do you have nice hair? You do have nice hair, by the way. I'm very jealous of your hair.
It's thinning, my friend. It's thinning.
I mean, when that I'm the bearded bald baritone, so I don't have any. Yeah. So, in any case, so we kind of went off the rails a little bit there at the end, but I just wanted to thank everybody for listening. And Jason, if you want to close us out.
Yeah, thank you for joining us for this episode of the Philly Baseball Together podcast. You can find us wherever you get your podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review. With that, this episode is out of here.
Out of here.